welcome to Breath of Life Daily Podcast. I have a special guest that is here with me. I have Mrs. So I went to a networking event a few weeks back or a few months back, and I was just blown away. And this young lady, I was blown away, so I wanted to interview her and pick her mind some more. And I was so inspired, and I was just so empowered by her words and everything that she was saying. And I have with me Destiny Inspire you can find her everywhere, Destiny Inspire. Destiny Inspire is a life coach, a speaker, an author, and she is described as an empowerment juggernaut. So that's huge, an empowerment juggernaut. Anyway, she just had this glow about herself, and I wanted to interview her for the podcast. Okay, and so I just wanted to, just pick your brain and ask you a few questions because you have that glow, like that just empowered of someone that knows who they are, knows where they're going, knows whose they are, So I just thought that was so cool.
Definitely came with time, but
yes,
I'm excited you say that. So.
Yes, I love it. Okay, cool. So I will get down to it. Thank you so much for taking the time out to do the interview.
Well, thank you for having me, April. I'm excited to be here. You've got a really nice setup here, and I've listened to a couple of your podcasts, and they are phenomenal. So I could not turn it down.
Thank you, sis. Flattery will get you. No, somebody said that the other day. Said flattery will get you far. But thank you so much.
Oh, it's real.
Thank you. Okay, so the first question that I want to ask you, because I see that you talk a lot about faith with your updates and everything, and I love it. It's so inspiring. Did you grow up in the church? Like, did you go to church along with your family when you were younger?
I am a PK, so I grew up in church, lived in church. Gotcha. When I say grew up in church, lived in church, literally Sunday service, Monday rehearsals, Tuesday prayer, Wednesday Bible study, Thursday revival, Friday prayers, and we went to church on the Sabbath too. So Saturday and Sunday. So I safe say my weekends were growing up. I was in church all the time. So.
Got you. So church was life.
Church was life, literally.
Okay,
literally.
And so the reason why I ask that is because I always like to ask people, like, what was your first encounter that you had? Like, what experience did you have personally that caused you to feel the power of God for yourself? Like, what was your personal introduction like?
April, I can honestly say out of all of the years that I was raised in church, I grew up in church, I knew God, or so I thought. It wasn't until I encountered my own personal experiences of trauma, of turmoil, that I actually got to know God for myself. Because growing up, and you hear the scriptures, you hear the testimonies of the saints, of the church mothers, and you believe because they believe. And you think you believe because you believe, but until that experience happens to you where you have no choice but to trust in God, it's really just words. So for me, honestly, I'm 27, I'm divorced. So honestly, that situation, dealing with a divorce at a young age, and doing it on such a public scale, being, my father was a pastor, is a pastor in Augusta, amazing man. My mother was a very popular gospel radio show host in my city, so everybody knew me as Sister King Cannon's daughter, Pastor King Cannon's daughter. She goes to this church. Then I got married, and then I was, you're such and such's wife. And so my whole life was always on display. I always had to show such strength, had to show such integrity. And, I managed very well, but I realized I created this facade of a life. I created a life that I felt trapped in. I didn't know who I was because I had identified myself by all of these roles and titles. Right. So it wasn't until God began to slowly strip away everything that I thought made up who I was that I realized, God, I'm left with nothing and nobody. Like anything that I put my faith in over you, you stripped it from me, and it allowed me to have that one-on-one encounter with God and realize it's not your name, it's not who you're connected to. It's not the way you were raised. It's who I am to you. And if I can't be everything to you, then you really have nothing at the end of the day. Right. So the catalyst for everything that I do now started upon my life falling apart and realizing I need God for myself. And it humbled me as well. It humbled me and showed me it doesn't matter how long you've been in church. It doesn't matter how many scriptures you know. When it's time for that one-on-one experience with me and God,
Yes.
all of that is put to the test.
Yes.
So that's what tested my faith. That's what really showed me who I was in God and what my foundation really was. So.
I love it. I love it. Like and that's what I wanted to talk about, identity.
Yes.
You know, because like, what is that relationship like that you have beyond everything else? You know, forsaking all else.
It's crazy because this like I say, this entire journey was contingent upon a young girl who thought she knew who she was, but really had no idea until God began to strip away the layers and to show me who I really was on the inside, not what I made myself to be on the outside. This image of perfection on this pedestal of salvation. He showed you, like, I can just push you off at any moment,
right,
and you're nothing without me. So
right.
that was my personal experience with God.
Right.
That changed everything.
I love it. I love it. God is in control. Like, I'm waking up mornings, like, every breath, like, I'm grateful to even see
I'm like, Lord, what you want me to do today? Like,
right.
We going to work today? What are we wearing? Like, I truly learned to acknowledge him and just, because I know in an instant, God can take everything from you.
Right.
And I say, like Job, the Lord gives and the Lord taketh away. At this point, Lord, whatever you do, hey, I'm okay with it. So
I love it. I love it. So I see you're very knowledgeable. So what made you decide to become an author?
So I've always wanted to write a book. I've always had this infatuation with literature, with words, with conveying and expressing myself. And so it was always in my heart to write a book. So when I finally made the decision to write my book, I said, you know what, I want it to be an easy read, something simple that can still be impactful. So I was just going to do like an affirmations book, something so simple. But next thing I know, I'm writing more and more. I'm getting more pages, and I'm like, oh my goodness, I need to stop. I was like, well, I'll just do a 30-day guide, something that you can still break down day by day.
Right.
And so I wanted to take all of my experiences that I had dealt with over the past few years, and I wanted to really use them and help others. And so I wanted to compile into a book. So I did a 30-day guide. My book is called Discovering Destiny, a 31-day guide to finding yourself, fulfilling your purpose. So one, to kind of embody that into one piece of literature and create a legacy that can in return help others. So.
Oh, I love that. I love that. You want it to be impactful. That's what.
Absolutely.
I love that. And so what made you decide to become a coach?
So when I decided to become a coach, when I went through a lot of my most difficult situations, a lot of my darkest moments, again, you have to remember, because you're on such a pedestal and such a public figure, it's hard to show vulnerability. It's hard to find people that you can confide in, that you can trust. It's hard to just let your guard down and live your truth and speak your truth. So when I went through a lot of these situations, because I'm so used to keeping it in and kind of embodying it, I didn't know who to go to. And people that I would have typically thought would have been there, they didn't really know how to handle it because they're used to Destiny being the strong one. I was always that strong friend. So it's like, well, she's fine. She'll get over it. And I dealt with severe depression. I dealt with anxiety, like thoughts of suicide. Like all of this was happening, and I didn't know how to express it. I didn't know who to go to. So I got a coach. I got mentors. And those were the people that really helped me through the situations, of course, with my faith in God. So I told myself, and I made a promise to God, I said, when you deliver me out of this, when you help me, I promise to be to others what I needed for myself. So the fact of not having certain people in place that I thought should be there, or initially not having that, it gave me the deciding factor that I want to be this to somebody else. And so that's why I got into life coaching, opposed to therapy, where therapy more so deals with the past and kind of digs into your memories and traumas and brings those back up. Life coaching really deals with the present and helps propel you to your future. And that's where I was. I needed to deal with where I was in life, how to deal with the divorce, how to deal with depression, how to deal with these things now. And of course, therapy is so good. You need therapists for those things. But once you've dealt with those things, how to move forward and still reach your goals and reach success, or what you consider success, that was important for me to be able to show other people how I did it. So that's what led me into life coaching.
I love it. Somebody coaching you through that. So you decided to become that to others.
I decided to become that to others. Yeah.
I love that. I love that. And so when you post your updates, on your social media, it's so empowering. And so One quote or saying that I came across from you, an update that I came across, it said, nowadays people quit on themselves and their calling at the first sign of opposition. If he, we all know who you're talking about, 45, if he can fight that hard for his wall, you can fight just as hard for your call. And so I love that. Like, I was like, yes, when I saw that. That was
But I was hesitant to
powerful.
post it because I don't really dive into politics with my platform. But I just thought about it. I'm like, if someone can fight this hard to build something that they deem worthy, or they deem is their legacy, or that they deem is going to change the world or make America great again,
yes,
why can't we fight just as hard for what we believe in, things that we know that we're called to do, that we know that we were put on this earth to do? We get into things and we know this is for us, but because we face a little opposition,
right,
we just want to back up and quit on it. I think of a child. Can you imagine a child falling down 10 times and saying to himself, you know what, maybe walking isn't for me? He's not going to do that. Well, when have you ever heard that? He would have never walked. So the same with us. I mean, if you can consider this a national emergency, like, you need to consider this a national emergency for your life. Like, there is someone, I firmly believe that we are assigned to people in this earth. And when we don't walk in our calling and our purpose, we do ourselves a disservice as well as our Creator, because somebody is attached to our lives.
Yes.
We're not just here living for ourselves, whether you know that person, whether you see them or not. People watch us and we have no idea. So when we don't do what we're called to do, we're letting someone else down, and we're letting our Creator down, for one.
Yes.
Because He didn't allow us to go through all these things. He didn't position us in certain places around certain people for us to just sit back and hold on to these gifts, hold on to these stories, hold on to these victories,
right,
just for ourselves. So I firmly believe if we can hold on to what we know is true about ourselves, what we know we're meant to do, and walk in it, we can change our life in our world. And I say our world instead of the world, because just like a business, you have a target audience and a target market that you sell to or that you attract. The same thing with your life. I will never reach all the people that you're meant to reach, because that's your world. But God gave me my world, the people that are connected to me.
yes.
So you have to impact your world around you, because we may never reach the masses of the world.
Right.
But if we can change our world, then we're getting more stars in our crown. So
yes, I love that. And I love how you put that, because I thought about that scripture today that says we are written epistles, to be read and known of men.
Absolutely.
So it's like our life is an open book,
Absolutely.
and God is of course the author.
Absolutely.
And so with that endurance and fighting for your calling, what are some ways that people can build endurance to fight? Like, what are some of the best practices, or like, what do you use to, make sure your endurance is up?
Right. So for one, I'm really big on affirmations, of course. And I feel affirmations are rooted in the Word of God. I mean, it starts there. When Moses, when he told him to go and tell Pharaoh to let my people go, he said, well, who should I say sent me? Tell them I am. Like, he established I am. And so I always say I am too of one of the most important words there are, because what you put after them shapes your life.
Wow.
A lot of times we speak, we're a spirit. We have a soul and we live in a body. But we can decree a thing and it has to be established. God did it in the beginning. He said, let there be. And he gave us that same power. And only difference is we use that power for evil and not good. We use that power to talk down on ourselves. We use that power to talk down on others. And there's so much power in your words, because every word plants a seed.
Yes.
And whatever seed you plant, it's going to grow. So imagine speaking life into yourself, speaking those affirmations, speaking who God called you to be, speaking who you know you're supposed to be. That right there is building endurance, because you are programming your mind to counteract the negative thoughts that you've thought about yourself. So the affirmation is simply counteracting that negativity. So one of the best ways to begin to build endurance is to decree and declare who you are, and to believe it. Every day I wake up and I say who I am. Because even if I don't feel it, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. So the more I allow that into my thought process, I am manifesting it. I'm manifesting the life that I want to see. So first, speaking it.
Yes.
Second, I would say your surroundings. Guarding your surroundings, because wherever you plant a seed, it will grow. But sometimes there are going to be weeds that grow up around it.
Right.
So you have to be able to decipher and distinguish when you're amongst people who is going to pour into you and water you and help you grow, and who's going to be a weed, and who's really just there to choke that seed out of you. So you have to be mindful of your surroundings.
Yes.
When I went through the transformation of changing my life, I had to change my environment. Unfortunately, I didn't have the same friends. Those who chose to stick around, those who left anyway, it made it easier for me.
Right.
But when I repositioned myself around people with like passions, or people who were speaking life into me, my life changed, because they were speaking into me things that I couldn't even see in myself at the time.
Wow.
So apart from speaking yourself into your future, into your endurance, you have to get around people who are going to speak into you. And then you have to be consistent and committed. So you have to be consistent to keep going, even on those days where it feels like I'm not feeling it today. Like, I can't do it. I can't make it. There's still some days where I will sit in my car and I will cry my eyes out. And afterwards, honey, I do my little hair flip, and I'm like, all right, now let's go. Like, you're going to cry about it, you're going to boss up. First of all, I'm going to do both. But afterwards, I'm going to pull it together. Because we're human and these emotions are put into us, we have to allow ourselves to express them. Because otherwise we would be stoic, we would be inhuman, we would be statues, and God didn't call us to be that. So you have to allow yourself to experience and feel it, but you can't stay there. You have to push past it. And so that's a good practice that I do. I give myself a moment to feel it. Go ahead and be in tune with how I'm feeling, like, Destiny, or, girl, you all right today? How we feeling? Like, we're a little down, because you have to do self-evaluation. Self-awareness is important. But once you do that and you are committed, you are consistent, there is nothing you can't do. And when you do feel weak, when you do feel like I just can't go on, you have to stay committed to the journey and committed to doing the work.
Right.
Doing the work is the part that a lot of people don't do. Because we talk about faith so much.
Yeah.
Faith. But faith without works is dead. And that's how I lived most of my life growing up. Like I say, I'm church raised, born and raised, bona fide holiness church. I mean, fire baptized, speaking in tongues. But at the end of the day, I realized after I got done watching everyone shout, because I wasn't a shouter, dance around, scream, when you come down off of that spiritual high, if you've not properly fed yourself, you're not going to be able to go out into the world and do the work. You're going to talk about a good message, and you're going to be screaming, I receive it all your life. But if you're not committed to getting out and doing the work that it's going to take to reach that, if you want a job, you can't just pray for a job. You have to put the works and fill out the application. That faith without works is dead. So being committed to doing the work.
Yes.
And those are some of my best keys.
I love those. I love every single one of those keys. But just back in the nature of identity, I love how you put that. When you say I am, what you put behind it is so vital. It shapes your life. And I just love that, because I came across one of my writings today, and it was like, I said, without identity, your identity gives you your authority. And of course our identity comes from God, and you were able to reposition yourself. I love that you were able to reposition yourself based on the identity that God has given you exclusively, right?
Like people gave me.
No one else. And so I love that.
That's funny. There's a quote by James Hill and James Allen, As a Man Thinketh. He says, we attract not what we want, but we attract who we are. So a lot of times that is a good indication of who you are in life. Yes. When you start attracting certain things, even people, we wonder, why am I attracting the same type of guy, the same type of girl, the same type of friends? You have to do a self-evaluation. Who am I, and what am I putting out into the atmosphere? What am I putting out into the world that I am attracting it back? So that's a good indication for you. I realized I was attracting the same type of people that I was, but I didn't want to be that. So when I changed who I was, when I reinvented, redefined, and realigned my life with God's plan for my life, then I saw who I really was. And I was able to walk in that. And then the blessings began to manifest.
Yes.
Because I always say my goal is to walk under an open heaven, where there's nothing that God wouldn't do for me, wouldn't give me when I'm in complete alignment with Him. And it's not being perfection. Right. It's not perfection, but it's making progress. Yes. Knowing that God hears you when you pray, and knowing that even if you make mistakes, He's faithful and just to forgive us. But don't get me started.
Yes, good, please. Go run.
You got me. My mouth is like.
I love it. I love it. It's making progress. It's making progress. That's what it's all about. It's not gonna be perfect every day, like you say. You just flip their hands.
Honey, listen, because many days the struggle is real.
Yes. yes.
I love Jesus, but sometimes I might cuss a little if my spirit man isn't
That's
girded
good.
up in the Word of God.
Gotta get in alignment.
That enemy is slick. That's how I know I'm out of alignment.
Yes.
And I went to hear actually Sarah Jakes when she was here for the Woman Evolve, and she mentioned about how we're fit physically, but how do you know when you're out of shape spiritually?
Yes.
And so for me, that's one of the indications when I'm very uneasy and I seem like I don't want to bridle my tongue. I'm not in alignment. So I'm like, all right, Destiny, let's bring it back in, sis. What's the matter? Let's do some self-evaluation.
Yes.
Where did you did run well? Now who did hinder you? Yes. So it's all about staying in alignment.
I love it. And that spiritual fitness. I actually have a pod about that as well.
Really?
I love it. And so, speaking of fitness, physical, spiritual, I love how you also talk about intentionality and just the power of being intentional. And so you had this quote when I met you at the event, and I like while you were talking, I was just like writing these things down. And so that's why I wanted to interview you. But you said when you unintentionally do anything, you're intentionally doing something else.
Absolutely.
So can you just like elaborate on that a little bit more?
Yes. So whenever you intentionally do something, or whenever you intentionally do something, you're unintentionally doing something else. So in other words, if I'm unintentionally just haphazardly talking, just saying whatever I want to say about anybody, not really thinking about it, I'm intentionally doing something else that affects someone else. And this could be personal or this could be to someone else. So if I'm intentionally doing something, I'm unintentionally doing something else. I'm going to intentionally walk out this door and go to my car, start my car, and I'm going to leave. I'm going to unintentionally, if I don't let you know that I'm leaving, unintentionally, I've left you in the dark like, well, she just up and left. She didn't say nothing. But I know I got somewhere to be. I got to go. But I intentionally made a decision to leave, but I unintentionally made you feel a certain way. So we can break it down simpler in relationships. I talk about, when we're talking about our love languages, people respond to things differently. So if me and you are friends and we have a friendship relationship, and I bought you a gift, like, girl, listen, I got you this gift. I thought you would like it. Yeah, but it's something that I wanted for myself. So I intentionally got something that I liked, but I didn't think about the fact that you might not like this. So I intentionally got something that I wanted you to have, but I unintentionally made you feel bad because it wasn't something that you wanted. Let's say I got you something, it's like a weight loss program. I'm like, oh, I would want a weight loss program, so let me get it for April. So I intentionally did it because I wanted to, because I thought I was doing something good, but I unintentionally didn't consider how it would make you feel. So I didn't think about, okay, what's going to be the effects of what I do. So in life, we do so many things intentionally, but we're unintentionally not mindful of what's going on, what the result of it is. So if I decide not to walk in my purpose, let's talk about then in my purpose.
Yes.
I'm intentionally making that decision because that's what I want to do. But unintentionally, I'm affecting a generation of people who are dependent on me to persevere, dependent on me to discover my identity, dependent on me to come out and speak, dependent on me to come out and coach them. Yes. But because I'm making a decision, I'm intentionally saying I'm not going to do it. Because I'm not going to do it, I'm unintentionally causing death to somebody else's life. Because I was their lifeline. Yeah. But because I made the decision to intentionally not walk in my purpose, not discover my calling, not discover my identity, now I've unintentionally caused an entire generation of young women to not walk in their purpose and not walk in their calling. Yeah, that's probably the best example.
Yeah, and I love that. It reminds me of that scripture, the creature awaited, if you don't manifest,
absolutely,
you have that generation that was waiting and you didn't deliver.
So you're unintentionally causing a whole generation of people that's connected to you. There's a story that I often speak about. It's called Nails in the Fence. So the little boy, he had a really bad temper. So his dad said, you know what, every time you get upset, every time you lose your temper and you say things, I want you to hammer a nail in the fence. Hammer as hard as you can. The boy hammered about 50 nails in the fence. And he realized it's easier to just not get upset than to have to hammer these nails in the fence. So when he finally got his temper under control, the dad said, okay, I want you to go back now and pull out all of those nails out of that fence that you hammered in. Take them all out. So the little boy was excited. So he went in and pulled out all the nails. And he said, Dad, I got my temper under control and I pulled out all the nails. So the dad said, okay, come here. Come look at the fence. He said, now you did such a good job pulling out all these nails that you hammered in. But now look, there are holes all over this fence. And he said the same way with these holes that can never be fixed or never be repaired is the same holes that you leave in people when you say hurtful things, when you do things that harm others. So you intentionally did it because it's what you wanted to do in that moment of rage, but now you unintentionally hurt other people and put holes that you can never repair. So that's another way to be mindful when we're intentionally doing one thing but unintentionally doing something else.
Wow. And I love that, being mindful. I'm being mindful. And that actually goes into my next question. You also deal a lot with self-awareness. And so you had this quote that you posted. It says, self-awareness is the ability to self-correct anything that could be potentially dangerous to your destiny. I love that too.
And I always say potentially because all it takes is a little leaven to leaven the whole lump. Like, it just takes that. A seed isn't but this big, but it can grow and produce a major tree. So we do small things, and we all have those small vices in our life that we think, oh, it's just this. But it leads to something so much bigger. I'm going to be transparent with you. When I went through my divorce and a lot of crazy things, I've never drank in my life really, but I started drinking. I thought, you know what? It's just one drink. But one drink led into many drinks, which led into drunkenness. And I was like, you know what? This is not God's plan for my life. Something that I thought was just small, like I'm just going to take one drink. It's going to ease the pain. It's just going to make me feel better. Going to make me forget about my troubles. But not realizing just that one thing that was even potentially dangerous could have led to something. I may not even be here today had I allowed that little thing to spiral out of control. A little, because people say a little drink won't hurt, a little wine, and I'm not saying it does, but you have to be self-aware to know your limits. I knew for me, I wasn't drinking for the right reasons. I wasn't getting a little wine for the stomach's sake. Like my intentionality, for one, intentionality was all wrong. So I had to realize, Destiny, this can potentially be dangerous. And a friend brought it to my attention, actually a mentor that I had at the time. He said, I thought of you more than that. I thought that you would care more about your future than to let something so small potentially spiral into something so great.
Wow.
And when he said it like that, I was like, man, I never looked at it like that. I thought I was just taking a little drink now to just make me forget about my troubles, get out of the moment. But that potential one drink could turn into a DUI, could turn into a car accident, could turn into an alcoholic lifestyle. So anything that's even potentially dangerous, we have to be mindful of and be self-aware. Know what we can handle, what we can't. For someone else, a few drinks that may be okay for them. But for me, I'm self-aware. I know that's not what I want. That's not something that's even close to the life that I want, because it's potentially dangerous. Because I know my vices, and I know what that can lead to. So we have to be able to be self-aware of ourselves and what we can handle and what we can't. And what can lead to something far greater than what we can even imagine.
And I love that self-awareness is, having that ability to know. So did you arrive at that thought through that experience, or like, did you hear that quote from somebody else? Because I love it.
Listen, so I read all the time. And I read another quote that had to do with, I don't even remember who was by what it was, but it had to do with being able to correct something. And that's when I took the thought. I said, well, to me that sounds a lot like self-awareness. And I said, to me that's self-awareness. So I said, anything that is similar, you should be able to self-correct it. And that's self-awareness, because it's detrimental to your destiny. Like, everything I think about has to do with destiny. Purpose, which leads to legacy. So I'm a thinker. So one word that someone says can make me formulate the entire quote in my head. I'm like, oh, let me write.
I love it. And so you wrote it down.
I did.
And just speaking of destiny, you have this book, Discovering Destiny, the 31-day guide to finding yourself and fulfilling your purpose. And so can you tell us a little bit more?
To pursue a different life for myself, that I wanted to go into a type of ministry of helps with empowerment speaking and coaching. I said, I don't want to be tied to or identify with anyone else. Although I'm proud of my legacy, I'm proud of my family. I needed people to separate me, who I am now, from who they knew me to be. A lot of times people look at us like they looked at Jesus. Isn't that just Mary's boy, So it's hard for people to see you for who you really are when they've always attached you to who you've always been. And so if they're always attaching me to something else, you can't fully get the essence of what I have to offer to you if you can't see me outside of what you know me to be. So Destiny Inspired came about really because I knew I wanted to inspire people. And so it was going to be Destiny Inspires with an S. You know, that's what I do. But the domain name was taken. I was like, oh. I was like, I have to drop the S. So at first I was like, I don't like that, Destiny Inspire. That's so stupid. But then I thought about it. My married name was Irby. I was like, well, Destiny Inspired, Destiny Irby. I'll just use that as who I am. So I created my platform and created my coaching business and my speaking business as Destiny Inspired. So that's who I wanted people to see me as. Like, I'm now someone who takes everything that I've experienced and I'm using it to inspire you and also empower you to change your life, to reinvent, redefine, and realign your life with who God has called you to be. So
yes, reinvent, redefine, and realign. I love that. I love that. And so this book is everything. So how can people follow you? Your updates, where can people follow you at?
Yeah, so I am at Destiny Inspire on all social media outlets. Facebook at Destiny Inspire, Twitter at Destiny Inspire 1, Instagram at Destiny Inspire. They can also visit my website, www.destinyinspire.com. Yay! They can email me, info@Destiny Inspire.
Everything Destiny Inspire.
Everything
All
Destiny
Destiny
Inspire.
Inspired. So thank you so much for
April.
just
It's
being
been a
here today
pleasure.
and sharing with us. Continue to follow breathoflifedaily.com at Bold Journal everywhere for more Destiny Inspire as well. And so thank you so much.